the Joe Leaphorn and Jim Chi novels. I read like five of them, maybe six of them back in the day, so they were kind of cool. I never thought they were going to make a show to it, but I always thought it would be good if they did, and so they actually did. And it's um, actually produced by George R. Martin as well as the late Robert Redford. And in the first episode of the second season, they actually make uh, both of them, Robert Redford, the late Robert Redford, since he passed away a few months ago, and George R. Martin, who's probably going to pass away soon himself. Let's be honest. Um, they they both made cameo appearances in the show. Um, I wonder if it's going to change now that Robert Redford is gone. Although I doubt it because he was a an executive producer, so I don't think he affected the daily ins and outs of this show. Usually, executive producer just means they're the one paying for it. But anyway, let's get straight into it. The government shutdown. Do people think it's going to ruin their lives? Do you think it's going to ruin your life? Um, yes or no, and why? So that's what I want to get into. I know a lot of people are going to have heated feelings on this, and that's perfectly okay. Just don't cuss me out because I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I wasn't for it. I don't like government shutdown, so do not think whatever you think of my political leanings that I am for it. Whether I would be on the left or the right, I'm not for the shutdowns. Now, do I have certain inclinations on whom I think is to blame? Yes. Yes, I do. But do I think only one side is to blame? Absolutely not. A pox on both their houses, as as they say. But yeah, I'm just curious. Let me. I'm looking at the settings here so that I can make this more enjoyable. So I'm gonna set another goal for 10 super chats or supports, and if so, I will teach a martial arts technique. But I got to get to 10. Okay. Uh, and if somebody has another idea of what I should do if I hit my goal amount, um, go ahead and go ahead and give me that idea. What's up, Moonlit? He says package, parcel, mail delivery, and banking is my issue with shutdowns. I see both sides acting like children and they got their way. It's annoying. So, guys, I just set a goal. So, if I get to 10 super chats, or super thanks, or super gifts, I will teach you guys a new martial arts technique. Um, and I tried this the last week, but it didn't it didn't work. So I'm gonna try it again. What's up, Robert? Um, this time I'm gonna set it for the length of the live stream instead of just setting it for 30 minutes because that's just way too idealistic with the low volume of the chat room. That just wouldn't be realistic. But yeah, if I can, if I get five super chats, that would be spiffy. But 10 will be better. My favorite martial arts move, uh, the helicopter kick. Not that it's practical, but I just love doing it because ever since I saw Van Damme do it back in 1989, or yeah, 1989, I've been a fan of it. So I learned after I could do a split and learned how to do a spinning jump kick. That was my next thing was to teach myself how to do a helicopter kick. So that's my favorite kick. I will not be doing that tonight unless people. Well, if I get more, if I get 11 super thanks, then yeah, I'll do a helicopter kick. But otherwise, because I have to stretch first before I do it. I'm older now, and I can't just jump right into a helicopter kick like I did when I was 15. So being that was like 32 years ago, yeah, then I got a little gotta stretch it out a little bit first. But I'll do that if people give me 11 super thanks. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. Robert says I'm a big fan of spinning heel kick. It looks cool. Just saying. Well, that's what a helicopter kick is. Is a spinning heel kick, but you're doing an aerial version. It's a spinning jumping heel kick, but you can do it two ways. You can do it with just without um without one leg spreading, but I do it with both legs spreading. Pause as a split since I have the flexibility still to do so. I remember when I was 22, some this guy uh, at my campus recreational center was like, "Dude, you still think you can do those? You'll still be able to do those moves when you're 30?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think so." And here I am at around 48 now, and I'm like, "Yeah, I can still do them." But I need to get better with my splits though. That would help. So anyway, getting back to the topic, but like I said, super thanks. My goal is 10 for the entire interim of the live stream, and if I get to 10, then I'll give you guys a martial arts technique. Um, as far as the government shutdown, um, you can say both sides acting like children, like Moonlit says, but I, I find more fault with one than the other. And I know I'm going to sound biased by saying I find more fault with the Democrats, but I do because they're basically holding the population up by trying to hold off on things that they want um, paid for that the general population doesn't care about. Not that no one in the population cares about. A lot of people care about these things, but the average American doesn't. The average American does not care about paying for the health care for illegal aliens. They don't care about subsidizing, you know, gender affirming care. They don't care about, and they especially don't care about sending money overseas to help people do these things that we don't even agree with. You know, they and I was discussing this with a friend last night. I was like, the reason that they do is twofold. One is because they can score political points with their base, and two, it's because literally with most of the government being led by the Republicans, you have a Republican-led Congress, both in the of you know House of Representatives and in the Senate. Uh, the White House is Republican. Most of the gubernatorialships are Republican, and although the judicial system is supposed to be neutral, we know it's not, and that many of the federally appointed judges were federally appointed by a Republican leader. So for the Democrats, they see using this using this shutdown as their only political leverage. So this is why I was telling my friend I think this is going to last much longer than the previous record, which was 35 days back in 2018 to 2019. that lasted from December 2018 to January 2019. I think this is going to be longer than that shutdown because, like I said, with this, they see this as their only political leverage. And in doing so, that's they're going to hold fast. Meanwhile, you could also blame the Republicans and say, well, why don't they just allow them to fund these projects? But again, the Republicans are sort of where middle America, that where most moderates in America are. They It's not that they necessarily dislike these groups. Some of them do, but it's just the fact that they don't want their tax dollars to go to these things. Like, it, you know, paying for illegal aliens emergency health care when a lot of Americans themselves can't afford health care just seems like a slap in the face. And Democrats have been really rubbing the immigrant card in the average American's face, and it's a losing battle. My friend and I also discussed why are they going so hard for the illegal immigrants. And again, part of it is to score points with the political base, of course. The other reasons that they've what is to bring to hopefully get allegiance from those folks into the Democratic Party. And there are some other not so noble reasons as well. Or but in any case, um, that's not a winning issue for the average American. So the average American is siding with the Republicans here. Like they're like, no, we don't want our tax dollars to pay for it. Now, to be sure, the longer it lasts, it's going to hurt the Republicans as well. Um, but right now, it's hurting the Democrats because for most people see it as them being obstinate on issues for which most Americans don't care. Uh, but it's gonna the longer this lasts, the longer it's gonna affect the Republicans as well during in the upcoming midterms in 2027, right? It's going to affect them. And I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise because usually the opposite party usually takes control during the midterms anyway. So disturbing the peace as the Republicans control the House and the Senate. They can do what they want. If you go to the hospital without health care, you will receive care. That has nothing to do with Dems. You're missing the point here. I'm saying look, there are multiple issues on which the Democrats have basically dug their heels in and saying, we want this funded. Republicans said no. And because of that, we led to a shutdown because they could not make an agreement on on the, the on the federal budget. Democrats want things funded through the federal budget that the Republicans felt that wasn't in our best interest, whether people agree with that or not. But what I was saying is that most moderates, the average American, does not agree with those issues that the Democrats want funded through the federal budget, such as health care for illegal immigrants. And you're not what you're saying isn't exactly true because you're talking about going to the ER. Yes, anyone will be seen at the ER, but you still get a bill for it. This is not like this is not like subsidizing Medicare and Medicaid and saying we're going to allow illegal immigrants to be able to qualify for these benefits as well. And again, other things like federally subsidizing gender affirming care. including putting it in the bill so that it can go to helping out such projects in another country. Again, when you look at some of these things the Democrats want pushed into the federal budget, is kind of whack. So it's like I agree with the Republicans to more so than the Dems when it comes to the shutdown. But at the end of the day, there has to be compromises made to get this federal budget done. There has to be compromises, which means both sides are going to have to budge on something they don't want. That's the nature of political compromises. I know a lot of people think it's good when their leaders hold to their guns, but real real politicking comes through making these compromises. And a lot of people hate the fact that politicians have to compromise on things that they believe in, but that's how you get things done. You can't expect to get everything done in a democracy. uh, and to be more specific, we have a constitutional republic. uh, you can't get everything done your way. If that's what you want, there are monarchies available to you in multiple countries still. There are authoritarian governments. So, for all the rhetoric about Trump being a king or whatever, if he were truly a king, he would be getting everything done that he wants without being stymied by the Democrats. But he's not a king because he was elected, and he can't force everything he wants through government, um, even through the use of executive what do you call them, executive whatchamacallit, I forgot, sorry. What's up, Carlton? What's going on, brother? Well, like I said, I'm more on the Republican side, but like I said, it's gonna cost them the longer this goes on as well. And we already know the SNAP benefits are going to end November 1st. So right after Halloween, uh, executive order. Thank you. I forget words sometimes. Yeah, I was saying if he were truly a king, then he could just issue everything he wants through executive orders, and they couldn't be changed. But that doesn't really happen. And even many of the executive orders he has ordered have been reversed by the judicial branch, by federal judges. So even executive orders don't, if they're deemed unconstitutional, they can be reversed by a judicial decision. Even and it doesn't even have to be like a high level federal judge, like on the court like it doesn't have to be like a circuit court of appeals or even a Supreme Court judge. It can be a lowly little um, judge on the what do you call them? What's the little local municipal judges? Whatever. What I'm trying to say, guys. But anyway, uh, yeah, Snap is about to end, and I've been clowning just like a lot of other folks, like making fun of all these little fat black women talking about they gonna starve if the Snap benefits running out. I'm like, bitch, how the fuck are you morbidly obese and you're on Snap? Something doesn't seem right there. Like, I've have aunties who had seen their Snap reduced a few years ago to like $30-$40 a month. And I'm like, how's this elderly person going to live on this? Like, elderly and disabled or veterans, and they living on 30, 40, $50 a month. Meanwhile, these mother freakers are claiming like 400, 500, $600 a month, eating good in the neighborhood. Is it people who use Snap to eat junk food? That's true. This is why, remember several months ago they were trying to change the law so that certain things couldn't be bought with Snap, like soft drinks, soft drinks, salty snacks, candy, stuff like that. And I'm like, I agree with that. Like some people was like, you're just being mean to these people. It's like, why should we be subsidizing them eating unhealthy food? So then we also had to subsidize them for their free health care when these people get diabetes and and heart disease and and high blood pressure because they eating crazy. What's up, Agatha? I haven't seen you in a while. Um, but yeah, so with the snap ending November 1st, and yes, it's more women taking advantage of it than men. But I mean, uh, let's let's be human here. No one wants to see a child starve, right? Joe says I need snap so I can buy Halloween candy. That's funny. But no, let's be honest here. Like, we can make fun of these welfare queens getting online talking about they need their snap benefits, even though they freaking fat. And it reminds me of that episode from The Walking Dead when Negan came to one of the came to one of the communities and said he's gonna double the amount um uh of food that they need to kick up to his group. And she was like, but if we give that much away, give that much away, we'll starve. And she's like, fat. He looks at her, he's like, if you know if you know The Walking Dead, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know how his facial the way he will articulate stuff and his facial movements is just funny as hell. And I'm talking about Negan. She's like, but we'll all starve or whatever, whatever. And she's fat. He looks at her. He's like, really? And she just breaks out crying. She's like, oh. That's the funny. That's the funniest. Negan was an absolute fucking savage. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but Negan was so fucking funny. A lot of people stopped watching it when Negan appeared because he killed Glenn. But if you kept watching it, Negan was freaking hilarious. How he just shitted on people. He even shit on Rick Grimes. He told Rick, he said, "Look at that, Rick. You see what just happened there, Rick? I stuck my dick in your mouth, Rick." Wait, oh, I'm sorry, I said it. He said, "I stuck my dick in your mouth, Rick, and you thanked me for it." I'm like, God damn, is he really saying? I was like, is this AMC or is this HBO? Like, what the hell is going on with, with Negan? I mean, and the way he beat the anyway. Getting off the point. The point was Negan making fun of a fat woman talking about their community is going to starve. It's the same way people think about these fat black women getting on YouTube and other social media with their little bonnets on talking about if they cut off our snap, we're gonna all starve. And and all of us are collectively making that same face that Negan did on Walking Dead. We're like, really? Oh, you were traveling for work. Okay. I'm talking about Agatha, guys. Carl says, yeah, no, children shouldn't have to starve. Agatha was watching some of your lives on my flight back here. Oh, great. That's what's up. But yeah, I mean, we can make fun of these women and some men. There were some men getting on saying, I ain't gonna, I'm not trying to fucking work. One guy got on there, dude has 2 children, talking about he's not gonna work. He's on, I'm like, what, what's wrong with you? Other people were saying, well, we just gonna, they cut our shit off. We just gonna go in the stores and steal. I'm like, you are getting, you are, you are getting on social media and actively telling people you are going to shoplift. That is bananas. Um, there was one family They was literally in the store eating stolen food while on video. And this is the kind of stuff, this is causes black fatigue. Like, it causes black fatigue not just with white people, but with other black people, because other black people see this as embarrassing. You got niggers, and from now on, I'm using the hard R. You got niggers in a convenience store sitting there on the floor eating stolen goods that they shoplifted, talking about this is what we're gonna do. We just gonna sit there and eat because if we hungry, we're just gonna eat our food. I'm like, what? You are an able-bodied man. Take your ass to the military. If you got a record, then I don't know, go drive a taxi or something. Like, the fuck? That's crazy. Got the whole family, and it's like, you as a man, you should not be like, I can see if it was just a woman and her kids, that's bad enough. But you're a whole able-bodied man sitting there with your girlfriend or wife, whatever, probably your girlfriend, because you know these niggas don't get married, and their two kids sitting there gorging themselves on junk food, by the way, that they stole out of a store. That's crazy. Alcona says those people should reach out to local food pantries before running up in someone's house. Yeah, look, churches do this all the time. Many churches have food giveaways every Sunday, and there are local food pantries as well. That's crazy. But to sit there and just, and then you forget, the many of these convenience stores are mom and pop owned stores. Like, even if they are franchised, like say it's like a 7-Eleven, a Wawa, um, any of those sort of convenience store franchises, or a supermarket. If you live in the, the East Coast, like a bodega or deli, all of these are mom and pop owned stores. And like I said, even some of the franchises are mom and pop owned, like, because they're not corporate owned stores for 7-Eleven and Wawa. Like, they're franchise, they're owned by franchisees, right? You're just not, so not only are you stealing and you're teaching your children something bad, you're also destroying the local economy, and you justify it by saying you just refuse to work, so you're gonna steal. That is pathetic. And I hope a lot of these mom and pop store owners are getting are making sure that they are properly armed and have their concealed carry permits, or constitutional carry permit, or whatever, or open carry permit, whatever they do in their respective states. I would I would I would encourage all merchandise, sorry, all like merchants right now, mom and pop owned stores, to arm themselves, because this is going to get worse as it goes along. But having said that, like I said, I don't want to see any children starve because of their idiot parents. We we have to make an exception for children. Once people see children starving, things will get bad, and there will be violence that ensues. On top of that, with this government shutdown, military isn't getting paid. Mind you, some of you guys don't know this. There are people in the military on food stamps. So even though it's easy to look at the welfare queens and saying, oh, their SNAP and Section 8 benefits are going to end, and say, good for them. They need to get their fat ass up and work anyway, which I completely agree with. Again, we got to remember there are children that are going to go without food. There are already children in America that have faced food insecurity, and to live in places that are food deserts, usually within, inner cities. And now you're gonna take away their food, whether it's junk food or nutritious food or whatever, and military isn't getting paid. Like, look, there are people all the way up to the level of an NCO, non-commissioned officer, that are using food stamps. There are people who are working full time and are still on food stamps. As I've last heard, I think there's about what 40 million. I think about 40 million Americans currently on SNAP or food stamp benefits, whatever they call it. That's a lot of fucking people. The country is about what 335 million people. 40 out of 335 million is a lot of people. Agnes says, I don't have any problem with kids or pregnant women and disabled elderly getting SNAP benefits. Yeah, I mean, that's for whom it was intended. But again, it's for poor people as well. I don't have a problem with poor people receiving it who deserve it. Like I said, I remember how dismayed I was to learn back in the day that there were people in the military on food benefit on SNAP because they couldn't afford their lifestyle. And mind you, some of these people receive a a, a, a base allowance um, for food and housing, or a basic allowance for food and housing, you know, and many of them like the lower enlisted, like from E1 to E5. I've heard even E6 are on. Some of them are on food stamps, and you got people working full time jobs on the civilian side that are on food stamps. I know there's some college kids that do it too. Um, I'm of a mixed mind of that. Because I was telling a friend earlier, when I was in college, I was starving all the time. I didn't even know that we qualified for it, but college kids do qualify for it. So go for it. And when it comes back, I did not know that. I was like, I would not have been eating, spoon like eating, sp- just spooning out peanut butter out of a jar when I could have been eating well. And I didn't realize that until a friend of mine told me she was on food stamps while we were in college. I'm like, what? I didn't realize that, but like I was telling my friend, like women always know how to get these benefits because they're not going to tell men that they qualify for these things. They don't care about us, which is why a lot of men right now are so gleeful at seeing these people lose their benefits because no one cares about men. When we're suffering, when we're poor, they're just like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So, telling these fat bitches, you need to pull your fat ass up by your goddamn greasy ass bootstraps too. Like, a lot of these women can stand to lose a male or two. Just saying. If not, you know what? Hoeing is always going to be in business. Hoeing will always be in business. A lot of guys are also joking, saying, "Looks like the whole look like women are going back to the $40 deal." So it look like $40. Uh, Looks like prostitution is back on the market, boys, because they're gonna do what they got to do to eat. Oh, you want to eat? Then I gotta beat. You want to eat? I'm gonna beat. You want some meat? I want some cheeks. Carter says some people use November 1st just to steal because they want to. Exactly, exactly. You, like I said, you're going to see an uptick next week in shoplifting, but they've already been doing it for the past 2 years. There have been so what's been going on with this uptick of shoplifting for the last 2 years is that this is organized, like these flash mobs. I'm sure you guys seen the news back in like 23 and 24 of these flash mobs going into stores and stealing everything. these flash mobs, these are not random events caused by people who are poor. These are the that was done through organized crime, and we're going to see more of that starting next week. We're going to see. I predict we're going to see more of these flash mobs breaking into stores and stealing stuff. We're going to see random. We're going to see more people randomly shoplifting and just eating shit right there in the store, like we like that one video I saw a few days ago. And as I said, the longer the shutdown goes on, the more this is going to happen. And another reason for this is that people are going to be cynical because they call it a government shutdown, but there's still a lot of the government still working. They're still collecting your fucking taxes. That hasn't stopped. It's like, oh, this ain't. And a lot of people have pointed this out. Don't call it a government shutdown if you're still collecting taxes. If basic government services are still running, including taxation, don't call it a shutdown because that is a disingenuous term. It is a disingenuous term when you still have the basic functions of government running, including the taxation of the very people who aren't receiving the government benefits that they're paying for through their taxes. I guess is just hoping the two parties could put aside their differences and work for the interests of the American people. I always assume, well, I won't say always, but you should always have a healthy cynicism of others when it comes to their motives. and I'm and when you're talking about looking at the motives of people on a grand scale such as a government, you should definitely be cynical. They care more about them their careers, their political allegiances, and thing and that things of the like than doing what's right for the people. They don't care. Um, Carter says 1 in 6 Americans are on Snap. Yep, I saw that statistic today too, and I was today or last night or whatever. I was like, Jesus Christ, that's like I said when you analyze 40. I think you get that what because I didn't you know do the fractions, but yeah, 40 million people out of about 330 million people. It's about 1 in 6. That's that's crazy. 1 in 6 is a lot of fucking people. Like, if people don't think that, if people can't, I think 1 in 6 is a number that people can easily grasp. Just think about it in a different way. If you had a 1 in 6 chance of being shot, that's not good odds, right? Those are not odds you would want to play with. Like like that's Russian roulette. At that point, if you had a 1 in 6 chance, a 1/6 chance of getting shot, those are bad odds. Joe says, "Yeah, bro, there's a lot of people that genuinely need help. Yeah, definitely, definitely so. Um, I guess I'm a little scared how long I will be getting paid. So the fact that you are still getting paid, because I already have friends working for the government who've been furloughed, and not getting paid. Like we can't even go hang out because they they gotta pinch their pennies right now. So they're paying their bills through their savings, like it's eating up their savings. So we can't even go hang out. Like this is University of Maryland's homecoming week, and we had plans to go to the homecoming, because you got the Black alumni homecoming, excuse me, the Black alumni homecoming. Then you have the regular, the alumni homecoming for everyone. Then you got the homecoming game with the tailgate and all of that. We can't do any of that because gotta gotta watch what you spend. Like when your basic bills are being paid for through your savings, and you don't know how long this is going to last. Like we're now, this will be day 29, I think tomorrow. I think today is day 28. And like I said, the longest shutdown has been 35 days. So we're on target to beat that. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good goal to accomplish, is having the longest record for a government shutdown. It wasn't good back then, back in 2018, 2019. It wasn't good in the 90s when we had that long one with that long standing feud between Bill Clinton and the Republican led Congress by Newt Gingrich at the time. That wasn't great. I remember what my mom was going through at the time when she was working for Social Security and got furloughed, and they were sending people eviction notices and stuff like that. That's not good. But the fact that you, Agatha, still are getting paid, work for like a you must work for one of those agencies where uh, you you are um, part of an essential service. So, but I mean, not paying the military, shit, that's not a good look. Like Trump said he was going to push through an executive order so that um, military would still get paid. And there was also some anonymous benefactor that said they were going to help pay for for the military's expenses. But whoever this grateful whoever this anonymous benefactor is, it's probably Trump. I don't know, but um, if you don't pay military and they can't eat and they're well armed, that's not a good combo. Starving military members, well trained, well armed, not a good look. I'm just saying. Um, Carter said the purge is about to be lit. Hell yeah, but shit, I need to get my tactical tomahawk. I got my I got my tactical blow dart coming. That's the last of my ninja weapons. Like I got every ninja weapon I wanted from back in the day. Like if you ever read Black Belt magazine and ordered like the free martial arts catalogs, like the Century Martial Arts catalog, the Asian World Martial Arts catalog, and it was like just a whole section of ninja shit. Everything I wanted there, I've now got, um, except for the blow darts, and that's on its way next week. Because it was hard trying to find one because either the ones I found was either like ancient samurai, like one of those ancient blow darts from the samurai era, from the feudal era of Japan, which I couldn't even use because it's a relic. I wouldn't want to like use a relic. Or the other ones were like toy blow darts. Then I saw one that supposedly worked, but it didn't. It looked shitty, so I was like, nah, I'll wait till I find one. And I completely forgot about it. I was like, I probably just won't find one, but I got one. But the other stuff I already have, and I've showed most of these things to you guys already. So I have my little throwing darts. And by the way, I say ninja, but I'm being facetious because I don't really think ninjas actually existed back in history. What we say now about ninjas usually could be referred to as being done by the samurai or their foot soldiers called the ashigaru, or by other Japanese feudal warriors of the time. But yeah, I had so throwing darts, my katana, because the straight ninja sword didn't actually exist in history. The so-called ninjato that you see in movies, those didn't actually exist. Um, my then some weapons weren't even from Japan, and they were called ninja weapons, like the balasong, which is a Filipino weapon, the karambit, which is an Indonesian Malaysian weapon, the nunchaku, which is an Okinawan weapon, the sai, which is another Okinawan weapon, um, the screamer sticks, again Filipino weapon, uh, the 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 fighting chain, which I have several of those, were actually used by samurai and police. Uh, what other ninja weapons I got? Oh, I got the foot spikes and the hand claws. Um, I have the throwing knives, which are really used as digging tools, but whatever. I had the ninja climbing, uh, ninja grappling hook and climbing rope, which is just basic climbing gear, but whatever. It sounds good to call it ninja and make it black so that people will buy it. But at least I'm not as goofy as some people. Like I didn't buy the uniform because the uniform, again, is just cosplay. If there were a real ninja, no fucking ninja walking around in 1500s would walk around in a black uniform with a hoodie and mask on to hide. Like to hide, you would look like everyone else. You wouldn't stand out by wearing a uniform that would make you easily recognizable by everyone else as a ninja or shinobi. um, So I never bought the uniform because I just think that's cosplaying as goofy. Um, no, yeah, I now have every ninja weapon. Not the bow and arrow because they didn't really use bow and arrows. Not the Wolverine claws because again, although Storm Shadow may have used that in GI Joe, they didn't use that. But whatever. um, although I will be buying those because I want a recurve bow and arrow for hunting in case we don't get food. There's plenty of deer in this neighborhood that are asking for that that arrow tip. Venison steak will I can deal with some venison steak, and I also need a bushcraft knife. I have a survival knife, but bushcraft knives are better for like the wear and tear of like dealing with like harvesting animals and other sorts of also other sorts of stuff that can really wear on a blade. So bushcraft knife and a recurve bow and arrow I'm getting next, not as ninja stuff, but as stuff for my prepping gear, and potentially I might need it now because if we can't feed ourselves, hey, as well as my tactical tomahawk, that'll work too. Because these deer just they have no fear of us, so they just will look right at like they'll just come right up into your house and start chewing on stuff, looking at you like all right, Bambi. um, and I will also get the Wolverine claws just because I used to always see them at the Comic Con and I wanted them. So we'll be getting those too soon. Probably after the spooky season when I can afford stuff again. Um, but yeah, man, it, people look. I won't say people are gonna purge, but they're gonna be purging them. They're gonna be purging them damn convenience stores. I know that much. I would say this to people in all seriousness. No jokes here. Start stocking up on food and water items because the longer this shutdown lasts, people are not only going to shoplift and steal from stores, but a lot of people are going to start panic shopping. You remember this? People panic shop back during the pandemic. When people start panic shopping, they just buy up things in bulk, leaving little supplies left for other customers. So you're going to start seeing people probably, the longer the government shutdown lasts, people are going to start doing panic shopping, which means you should start uh, stocking up on supplies now. And when I say stocking up on supplies, I'm not saying do the same thing that they're doing. I'm saying buy these things incrementally for your own supply so that it can last you a few, so that you can have food supplies and water that can last you a few months. And I don't mean, like I said, go to the store and just start grabbing up shit like people were doing during the pandemic. Just start increasing your food supply, your water supply, that sort of stuff. That would make sense. And if you don't have a bug out bag, probably be a good time to start one. Uh, Lucid Day Team says Trump is raising taxes for lower incomes while lowering taxes for billionaires. Yes and no. He's lowering certain taxes for billionaires because they are the ones who create jobs and businesses. If people of lower income and middle income want to work. You need the people on the highest rung to make those jobs available. You can't just rely on the government for jobs because, as you can see right now, if you rely on the government for jobs and the government shuts down, so you want the private sector to create jobs in order to create, in order to incentivize the private sector to create more jobs and higher paying jobs, you have to lower corporate taxes. That's what they have. That's what Trump has been doing, lowering corporate taxes. It makes sense from an economic perspective. Lucid says with the healthcare plan, 50,000 additional deaths per year due to the unaffordable healthcare. We still have Obamacare, aka the Affordable Health Care Act, whether people realize it or not. Um, and there was problems with that. We won't have to go there, but you're talking about healthcare plan for 50,000 additional deaths. If they're immigrants, then they can go the fuck back home. I'm sorry, I don't care. Like, again, we shouldn't. The Democrats shouldn't be shutting down the government so that they could subsidize paying for the healthcare of illegal immigrants. Go if they want fucking healthcare, they can go the fuck back home. Sorry, don't care. You think if an American goes to another country, they're expected to come out of pocket. So should they when they come here. I don't care. They can go the fuck back home. All those. Sorry. Carlin says some wealthy people are on Snap. I saw a lady in Beverly Hills driving a Rolls Royce using EBT at a grocery store. I don't doubt it. People look. People are going to abuse it. Definitely. Do you remember when Old Dirty Bastard show was on MTV 30 years ago? He rolled up in a limo with a tux on, with his baby mama and his kids, and was talking about he was talking about he was on food stamps and he showed his food stamp card. It's yeah, you got you do have some affluent people on SNAP benefits. The, however, they are in the minority, obviously. But again, the majority of people on SNAP are women. So look, if if the government cut off their stamps, hoeing is always an option. Some of them already do it for free. Might as well get paid for it. It's gonna go from OnlyFans to Only Stamps. That's what they should do. Only Stamps. uh, what's up, Dunjo? Haven't seen you in a while. I don't see why Gonzalez got his stuff deleted. I don't know. He must have did something run afoul of the Streamlabs. Carlin says starting November 1st, many people will be on a calorie deficit. By the new year, they'll be slim and trim. I, I'm, I'm not gonna even lie. When I was having my financial issues, it did actually lead to me getting more trim. I'm at fighting weight. Oh, well, I got to fighting weight. I've put more weight back on, but I got down to fighting weight because it's funny because like every time I would go to the MVA or DMV, which wherever you live, at the DMV, they when they would renew my license and it would say 145 pounds, I was like, that's not my weight. I was like, I haven't been that weight since I was like 19. He's like, don't worry about it. That's a good weight. I'm like, I'm nowhere near that. He's like, yeah. He said a lot of us aren't. But I was like, for me, that would be just underweight. Like that might be a good fighting weight for me. But if I'm not currently in a calorie deficit to make weight for a fight, which I have never done, then yeah, I don't want to be that small. Just as Dodgers just got spanked by the Blue Jays. Well, I'm not a fan of either team. I'm either, for me, it's either the Cubs or the Orioles, and then lastly, the Yankees. But Cubs first. Uh, I don't know. I think it's about a tie between the Cubs and the Orioles, but because I lived, for a long time in Illinois, then I'm originally from Baltimore, but um, I don't know. But Cubs, Orioles, Yankees. I'm not really a Dodgers fan. um, Conan says when the 2020 riots broke out, I saw people with bows and arrows, chainsaws, whips, etc. Damn, so they were looking like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Said, you don't, what was it called? Bartertown and Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome with Tina Turner. That's the only one I remember because I saw that one in the movies. I didn't see the first two films up until, I didn't see the original two films up until like recently, like last 10 years. And that was because the new one came out. When the new one came out, I didn't even like it when it first came out, the new Mad Max. Uh, but then I watched it recently 3 weeks ago, and I was like, oh, this was actually good. Because the first time I watched it, I wasn't really paying attention. I was like secondary watching it while I was like glued to my phone or whatever. But so I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch this a second time. This time I'm like put the phone down and watch it. I was like, oh, this is actually good with the new one with Charlize Theron, not the spinoff one that they made about her as when she was younger. I was like, no one cares about her separately from Mad Max. Like it's the same problem. That was the same mistake they did with the whole ballerina thing with the which was supposed to be the spinoff from John Wick. Like no one cares about this person. We don't care about John Wick. Same thing with Mad Max. We don't care about Mad Max. We didn't care about her separate from Mad Max. Um, but anyway, yeah. So I guess 2020 they was living out their Mad Max shit beyond Thunderdome. I guess yeah, that's true, Carlson. I saw it too. You talking about the January 6th riots? Is that what you're talking about? Or you just talking about during the pandemic? Because during the pandemic, people were wilding the hell out during the pandemic. Like I saw the dumb. I wish we could go back to 2020 because that shit was funny. Sh- sh- just seeing how panicky people were. I remember Kevin Samuels brought this up. He's like, all these women talking about they strong and independent didn't look very strong and independent during the pandemic. They look. He said he would come across them in the grocery store and they look freaking scared. They weren't all strong and independent then. I remember my mother was looking not that great back then. She, um, I didn't care. Like I'm a vet. I can fight. I was like, I know how to bang those tools, so I wasn't worried. But yeah, people were just bugging the hell out. Like in the supermarkets, like some people would just taking handkerchiefs and then tying the handkerchief across their face with like a long rubber band or like some sort of rope or twine. Uh, Other people were using construction mask instead of a surgical mask. I saw one person wearing a freaking tactical NBE gas mask, NBC gas mask, NBC standing for like or ABC, whichever you want to call it, nuclear, biological, chemical, like 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 the guy was literally going for a jog in his NBC gear, and I'm like, I hope he's doing that for training. Because I was like, if he's doing that because he's scared to catch COVID when you're running by yourself, I'm like, that's dumb. Would you want to just you can't just catch it free floating in the air. It doesn't live that long. It's a even though I think it's an airborne pathogen. There still has to be it has to be closer contact than you just randomly catching it in the air, unless you're like talking about the recycled air inside a house, which is all the more reason why people should have been going outside and getting fresh air, not staying inside like the way the government told them to do, just staying shut in. Honestly, yeah, to Agatha, that was wild. I might need some water, guys. Losing my voice. But Carlin says people on Snap should go to the church for food. Churches have a lot of food. Yeah, they have Sunday Sunday food giveaways. And I mean they be giving out nice food. Like they'll give out like things like ground beef and steak and chicken, fish, um, corn on the cob, all sorts of fresh produce, fruit, milk, bread. They be giving out all sorts of stuff. And usually the what happens is the church going folk take it for themselves, even though it's supposed to be for the community. I guess is where there might be lots of robbery. Yeah, like I said, we're probably gonna see an uptick. The longer this lasts, the longer we're gonna see an uptick in crime, robbery, shoplifting, um, flash mob thefts. Um, it's gonna be an MT again. Again, there's gonna be more people prostituting themselves. Um, and people being less kind and generous because people are not going to be kind and generous when they think they've been wronged or they're starving. So under reaction says people don't deserve anything they don't earn on their own. Is that so? Let's okay. If that is the case, so curious, did you go to private school or did you go to public education? Did you go to public school or did you go to private school? Because if you didn't earn it, then you shouldn't have been going to public school. Anyway, Cardinal says even without Snap, he said Mama will make a miracle on Thanksgiving. I don't know unless Mama's um toting banging those hammers in the grocery store to get that Thanksgiving food. And Tupac caped way too much for his ratchet ass mom. His mom was a crack addict. She didn't take care of them. Like he caped way too hard for her. She like no. But anyway, that's a different subject. Like I say, I paid a lot of taxes because I don't have any dependents, especially when I'm doing overtime. Mm. Lucid says 20,000 deaths per year from loss of Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act coverage. 13,000 deaths per year from delayed nursing home staffing rule. Hmm. Uh, 18,000 deaths per year from the loss of drug access among dual eligibles for a total of 51,000 preventable deaths per year. I, I don't know whether that's true or not, so I can't. Being that I'm in a position where I can't verify that or reject it, I don't know if that's true or not. However, again, I'm not sympathetic when you're talking about a bunch of illegal immigrants getting the resources that should be going to Americans and naturalized citizens. Uh, Also, like I said, I can't contest it because I don't know whether that's true or not. I mean, people can throw any numbers they want in a chat room. There's no way to verify that unless you include a link to those alleged stats. Uh, Agnes is just worried if Social Security will be around when I reach 67 or 70. I've already said for people who are, I, the, Social Security is a pyramid scheme. Like I, there's a lot of people are doubtful whether Gen Z and millennials are going to see Social Security. Right now, they're paying a lot to subsidize the retirement of boomers and even some in the silent generation. And it's not likely that Social Security will be, it will probably still be around, but it's no guarantee that it's going to be around when uh, Gen X or millennials or Gen Z come of retirement age. And they've raised retirement age. Like, you have to be older than 67 or 70 now, Agatha, anyway. You got to be like, I think, 72. I think you have to be like 72 now. Someone can fact check me. But I know it's older than 67. I think you have to be like 71, 72, something like that. And they keep raising the age the longer as with as as we have longer life expectancy, meaning a lot of people will never even be able to collect their social security as people in past generations did. It's a pyramid scheme, and it's not sustainable in its current state. I would not be counting on Social Security. People need to be built. Like, people even need to be um, building up their own funds through an IRA and 401k. Um, as well as like securities, such as stock and fund and mutual funds and ETFs. Like, shouldn't be relying on Social Security because even if it will be there for us in our elderly years, it's probably not going to be kicking out the same amount of money as it did for the boomers who have robbed the system. Lucy says the one big beautiful bill act would strip health insurance from millions and cause tens of thousands of. I don't give a fuck, man. You just keep claiming stuff without any way of verifying that. Yes, everyone hates the one big beautiful bill. I get it. There's things about it I don't like either, but again, boo freaking who? The the one big beautiful bill isn't causing the government shutdown. So what you're saying is a red herring because that has nothing to do with the current government shutdown. It has nothing to do with the current government shutdown. So you're talking about shit that has nothing to do with the current government shutdown. Carlin says during the pandemic 2020 summer after George Floyd was unalive. Okay, during the pandemic. That's what I thought you meant, but I wasn't sure. Lisa says everything is earned. Believe that. Well, similar to what I said to the other person, Lisa. I look. I am balanced. Just like I told the other person that. Well, I didn't tell the person. I kind of inferred that what they were saying was nonsense because if you're saying that they only deserve what they earn, which I was like, in that case, he needs to prove that he went to private school. I'm also going to say on the other end of the spectrum on it is that everything people do receive in government benefits and entitlements is definitely not earned. It's definitely not. You got people take, like I said, you just like Carlton was saying earlier, you have people taking advantage of the system with SNAP. You got wealthy people, not a lot, but yes, you got wealthy people using SNAP benefits. You had illegal immigrants getting thousands of dollars in food and cash benefits last year. And it was exposed when someone took a screenshot of their receipt. And this wasn't, even though it was just this one person in Walmart, this isn't the only person. Like there's been tens of thousands of immigrants, illegal immigrants receiving food and cash benefits, getting reduced housing and all sorts of things that they haven't given to like ordinary Americans, especially not the black people in those poor neighborhoods where they were pushing those illegal immigrants. So yeah, everything earned, they're not getting everything that they earned either. So I disagree. So that's just to say that I disagree with you and the other guy who was this whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps bullshit. Like let's call a spade here. Like look, you there are some things you deserve that you may not have earned, such as public education or emergency emergency health care, like the ER, right? Or on the other end, everything that people are entitled to doesn't mean that they earned it. They may get it because of our social welfare system. And that's a good thing to have a social welfare system because that that stands in place of the obvious economic inequities that society will bring. Lisa says not everyone earns equally, which again is true. Lisa said no, she gave him life. Who? She gave him life. Who gave whom life? I'm lost in this in the chat room. Sorry, but yeah, we are past an hour and I did not make my goal, so looks like I'm about to end this pretty soon. I won't be teaching any technique tonight, unfortunately, because I didn't get to my goal. I didn't even get one super thanks, much less 10 to reach the goal for teaching a technique. But we will try that again. But I don't know. Let's bring this to a close. Like I said, look, because uh, um, our system cannot merely give things to people just on the basis of them earning it. Because if so, it we couldn't have a thriving society if the only people who went to school were the ones who could afford to go to private school, or the only ones who wouldn't die every time they got sick were the people who could pay for private health care. That's why we have the ER. Um, and there's many other examples. Like a robust social welfare is a necessary um, thing to have in place and not just carry about economic growth. Like yes, the social welfare hurts our economic growth, but there has to be some things besides just economic growth. On the other hand, we are not a socialist society. We can't just make everything a government benefit. That's not sustainable. When 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 you socialize everything, what happens is everyone just deals with less. Instead of giving people more, er, people will just all everyone will just have to deal with less, except for like the few privileged people working within the government. So, um, and yes, there are issues with the big beautiful bill. with other things that the Trump administration did in his first term and in his second term. However, the government shutdown, you can say is a pox on both houses, like I did in the beginning of this stream. But as I stated also, I find more fault with the Democrats because they are willing to die on the hill of subsidizing things that the average American does not care to subsidize, like, again, gender affirming care for people in another country or giving health care to illegal aliens. Then I'm going to criticize the Trump administration as well because why the fuck are we sending money to Argentina? I think we sent them how much? Was it 40 billion? I've heard it was 40 billion. Why are we sending money to a country that used to house they used to that that took in Nazi refugees after World War II? We don't even do that much trade with Argentina to be sending them money like that. Fuck Argentina. Why are we sending them money? And this is I don't and I'm not one of these people clutching their pearls about the East Wing of the White House being remodeled. But why do it now? Like I know he's like Trump did say he's paying for it out of his own money, allegedly. But it's a bad look. Why would you remodel the East Wing now? Like it it's just bad optics. It's bad optics. Why not remodel the East Wing after the shutdown happened? Regardless of whether Trump is paying for it himself, it's a bad look that when people are suffering, they're worrying about their SNAP benefits and Section 8 being cut off, and you're remodeling the East Wing. Like that's not a good look. And then you sending 40 billion to a useless ass country like Argentina. Yeah, I said it. I don't care if you're from Argentina. You can at me. I don't care. Like it's a useless. Argentina's a useless country. Beautiful women. I hear they got some cool food or whatever, but it's a pointless country. Sending them 40 billion. They don't do anything. They don't supply us with like at least Israel supplies us with like critical intel that we need in the stuff that we do in the Middle East for people who don't know about all the stuff that our military does in the Middle East. Like Argentina is not is not a strategic is not a strategic ally. Fuck fuck Argentina. It well let me I don't know. Let me see. Maybe we're sending the money because of the stuff that we're doing now with this war on Venezuela. I don't know. That would be just me completely guessing at the motives for funding a pointless country. But 40 billion for them, that 40 billion could have went to these programs being cut off. America first should be just that. If we're gonna be MAGA, make America great again. If we're gonna be America or we're gonna be America first, that means putting America first. We should not be sending $40 billion to some pointless ass fucking country in Latin America. That's a bad look. um, Lucy said he wasn't going to tear it down. Well, he's remodeling. Look, I have again. I'm not clutching my pearls over him tearing it down because the White House has been remodeled numerous times. Like I just wish people studied American history because every time they clutch their pearls about something Trump has done, I guarantee a president has done it in the past and probably more than once. The White House has been, and And literally, and even Bill Maher pointed this out. Literally, anything the president does, Democrats will reflexively hate, even if it's something that makes sense. Like I said, he could. I've said this a year ago. He could literally do everything that's on the Democratic National Committee's agenda, and they would still hate him for it just because he did it. He could literally do everything they want to get done, and they would still hate it just by virtue of the fact that he did it. Because it's Trump. Is That's why people start saying it's Trump derangement syndrome. I don't agree with that term, but I get why people say it because there's just a reflexive hatred towards any and everything that he does. The East Wing, there's nothing wrong with him remodeling the East Wing. Again, the White House has been remodeled numerous times. The only problem is a bad look doing it during a government shutdown because it looks like we're being frivolous with taxpayer money. But again, allegedly, taxpayers aren't footing the bill on this. Uh, Egla says, I'm super upset about that money. We could help out people. Yeah, like I said, I'm mad about 40 billion going to Argentina because Argentina is a useless country. I'm sorry. I don't. I'm too tired to pretend to be polite. Argentina is a useless country. The only thing they're known for is taking in Nazi refugees after World War II. They even talked about that on the X-Men movie when Magneto went to find the people responsible for his family's death, uh, and the whole thing going on. I think he was at Auschwitz. He went to find the remaining Nazi officers, and they were hiding out in Argentina because it's well known that Nazis fled to Argentina after World War II. That's the only thing I know Argentina for. So, like I said, they're a useless country. I just think he's sending too much of our hard-earned money to other countries. Well, no, he's cut off a lot of our money to other countries. This was just specifically to Argentina. I mean, but you also say like the whole thing with Ukraine and Israel that started under Biden. So we can't get mad at Trump for something that Biden was doing. He sent fucking Ukraine 100 billion. Excuse my French. He sent Ukraine $100 billion at one point, on top of donate other money he sent them. I think it was up to like 200, 300 billion in total of how much he gave to him under his administration. But there was one particular time when he sent them 100 billion. I'm like, yo, you could have canceled all student loan debt with that. Well, not all student loan debt because student loan debt is like $1 trillion. But you, yeah, America first, whether you're Republican or Democrat, should mean spending taxpayer money here in America, not abroad for any reason other than our national defense. For instance, maybe Argentina has precious minerals we want. They got me gold. I don't know. I don't know if they do. Turn into Glum Gold from from Ducktales. You If you never watched Ducktales, you wouldn't know who Glum Gold is. That was Scrooge McDuck's arch nemesis. This is Trump is probably building this so he can run an unconstitutional third. I doubt it. Like the dude is 79. I highly doubt he is running for a third term. The reason he picked someone like JD Vance as his vice president is probably because he's going to be groomed to run for the office in 2028. He only The only reason he never says that he's not going to run for a third term is because he likes trolling the media. He doesn't like giving them a definitive no on anything because he knows it irritates the shit out of them. If you know what someone's trigger is and you already don't like them, aren't you going to use that against them anytime you can? If you think the media is is out to get you and portrays you in a negative light any chance they get, and you can fuck with them, would you not do that? He's not going to run for a third term. Carter says MAGA means make Argentina great again. Carter got jokes today. I know, right? 40 billion, man. I only needed 10,000 of that. I'd be right. Just that would get me right now. Just give me 10,000 of that 40 billion. That wouldn't even be a dent in it. Wouldn't even be a scratch. So yeah, sending out giving Argentina 40 billion. Do they got good hoes in Argentina? Is that what I'm missing? Because the last time I checked, Colombia was the best for the hoes in Latin America. It was Colombia, then it was Dominican Republic. But it was no one's talking about I gotta go for hoes in Argentina. So I don't see what a 40 billion. No. He says I don't care either, but he lies all the time. All pres look, all politicians lie. All presidents have lied. I wish people stop saying Trump lies all the time. All of them lie. All of them have lied since the beginning, from Washington until now. Every president has lied multiple times because the truth of the matter is you can't be honest as a politician because people don't want to hear the truth. So you have to lie. It's the same reason why you have to lie to your children because there's some things you can't tell your children. Same thing with presidents and the electorate. Some things you just can't tell the electorate. Uh, Colin says maybe Americans can come together November 1st and help each other since there will be no snap. That would be nice. That would be, as much as I would like to think that the better angels of our nature would come together in that way. I'm a cynical person, and I think it's going to be. I think it's just going to be bad. I think people are going to use November 1st as an excuse to shoplift, um, to cause mayhem, and the longer it drags on throughout November, especially once it hits around Thanksgiving, if we get to Thanksgiving and there hasn't been a resolution of the shutdown, things are gonna look nasty. And if it gets to Christmas, you know it's gonna be nasty. Like I said, if it goes to Thanksgiving, it's gonna be pretty nasty. If it goes to December, to Christmas rather, it's gonna get very bad. If it goes past January and we can't pay our military, people still out of SNAP and Section 8, you better get a bug out bag. You better get some weapons. Better start stockpiling food and supplies now. Get some MREs if you have to. Grow grow a victory garden, something. Because like I said, if it drags on through no through November up until Christmas or December or longer, it, things will get bad because we've never had a shutdown this long. And like I said, the longest one was back in 2018, and that didn't get that nasty just because people still had faith in the system back then. That's why I don't think things seemed as dire back in 2018, 2019 as it is now. But after that, what have we seen? We've had a pandemic that killed over a million Americans, not to mention millions of people worldwide. We've seen our children fall behind because of that pandemic. Um, we've seen we've seen a president in office where his whole where his whole administration pretended that he wasn't suffering from dementia. Then we get another president in office who was, uh, you know, put out his first term and then, um, implicated in alleged crimes and all this and that. So now so now the country is completely torn in half. and you got this whole immigrant crisis going on and other stuff. And it's like, man, like I said, the government shutdown wouldn't be so bad if we didn't already have a lack of faith in the system right now that, you know, this unprecedented since, I would say, since the 1800s. We haven't seen this level of uh this 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 we haven't seen this level of just the country being so divided since the 1800s. And we saw what happened in the late 1800s, what that culminated into, right? I'm not going to say we're heading towards a civil war, but we there's going to be a lot of civil strife if the shutdown lasts longer than if it keeps going throughout the holidays, because the holidays are already pretty tragic for a lot of people. If it goes on Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, and say for some reason and they don't find a way to fund our military, it's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. If you folks don't already have self-defense weapons, I implore you to get them now. If you don't have a bug out bag, I implore you to start a bug out bag. You can either buy one of those cheap already made ones for you like in Walmart, or you can just make your own by going to a sporting goods store like Dick's or REI, and just like build up your own bag. And you can use my video or many videos on YouTube as an example of how to build up a bag. Um, I got a super chat, guys. Let me. Oh, thank you, Agatha. Agatha sent me $5. Thank you. That'll be going to my coffee. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Um, but yeah, and then I said, start stocking up your food and water. Like I said, don't go panic shopping like people did during the pandemic. Just like every time you go to the store, just buy a little bit more than what you normally would as far as your food supplies. And I mean the and when I'm talking about food and water supplies, I'm not talking about like the stuff that easily goes away. I'm talking about the stuff your what do you call those types of food? The sorry, I keep forgetting my words today, guys. What's the stuff that doesn't that lasts last long, like like an MRE or something, like your canned goods, um, dried food, stuff like that, stuff that you can stock and can last up to a year, stuff like that, like canned goods, um, prepackaged meals, those sorts of things, and like you know, and buy containers of water. Um, if you can create some sort of water source at home, that's even better. If you can make it like a victory garden or something like that, where you can fix your own produce, that's good. If you have some some arable land, you might even buy some animals if you can. You know, goats, cows, sheep. Most of us don't have huge arable, huge tracts of arable land like that. Am I saying that right? Is it arable? I think that's the right word, right? But yeah, just start stocking up on food and water. Not like panic shop, but just like buy more supplies of it. And I'm talking about like the food that can be stocked up, like canned goods and stuff, dry foods and prepackaged meals. Get some self defense weapons. You can get like a good tactical pen, tactical flashlight, a pocket knife, get a fixed blade knife. Um, what else? Yeah. Um, maybe try to get your permit to get yourself a firearm. If you're not comfortable getting a firearm, then you can get something like a kukri or a tactical tomahawk. Okay. Also, you can always go prison style and just get a sock and a sock and a lock. That works. Actually, you don't have to be a sock and a lock. It can be a sock and rope. Sock and rope. I mean, sorry, a sock and soap. Sock and soap. But that that Dove soap in a sock, shh, knock somebody to freak out. Well, it won't knock them out, but it's gonna give them a bad day. But at least they'll be smelling good. But yeah, start stocking up on self defense weapons. Build a bug out bag. Get some food and water that you can pile up bit by bit. I guess toilet paper too, but yeah. This is just need my student loans paid instead of sending money overseas. Right. Anytime they wanted, they could have done that. Excuse me. They could have they they could erase student loans like that if they wanted to, because the presidents were given authority to do so through the Higher Education Act, which is why a lot of people were mad at Biden that when he tried to eliminate some of the student loan debt, he did it through the COVID Relief Act. Like, why would you do that through the COVID Relief Act when the Higher Education Act already grants you the power to dismiss student loans? He can literally just wiped out every federal loan um, through the Higher Education Act. Or they could have just kept doing what they were doing during the pandemic when they were not when they had um, did that freeze. I, if a president if that's another thing the presidents could have done, instead of just erasing the federal student loans, they could have just kept freezing it, and they could have just froze it indefinitely, because once people got used to being frozen, probably know what president was going to come into term, like a new president come into the office and then unfreeze it. I mean, they always had the option to unfreeze it, but they could have, after they froze the student loans from the pandemic, all they had to do was just say, we're going to indefinitely freeze it. It wouldn't be the same as actually wiping out student loans, but in effect, it would do the same thing by just indefinitely freezing it. So, like I said, after the pandemic, they could have just indefinitely froze the student loans as they had done during the pandemic. But if any president had a set of balls, he could have just said, "Well, I'm just going to wipe all federal student loans out through the Higher Education Act because they're authorized to do so. It literally allows them to do so," which is how they've throughout past 30+ years have randomly gone and wiped out stuff for whatever reason. They could have just did a universal wipe, or like I said, the the politically more convenient way of handling it was just to keep the freeze during the pandemic going indefinitely. I guess as I'm thinking of going to volunteer to help with food at a local food bank. That'd be nice, and you could probably bring back some food yourself from there. I haven't heard of any food pantries. I might ask my mom about it. Plus those church giveaways. So I already told her I wanted to do like a run for the church. By the way, do you guys see this? Where is it? I don't know if you got see the little rosary. That's my rosary I got from a Catholic missionary nonprofit. I always wanted it ever since I used to hang out with the little cholos back in the DC area when I was a teenager. So I finally got me a rosary. Maybe it'll be good luck. Lucy says, "Do you support birthright citizenship?" Um, I'm not sure what you mean. Support it for whom? I only support birthright citizenship in the way that it was originally intended, which was for the American descendants of slaves. That's whom the birth that was initially intended for. That whole thing with the 14th Amendment. Then it was later extended to um, immigrants uh, who weren't just born here, but who were, how is it worded? Like they have a stake here in America. Like it should not just be given to people just because they're born here, because people do birth birth tourism. Like people will literally come here, have their kid born in America to make them American, and then use that kid to tether them here as well. Like the kid can't be opposed supposedly kicked out of the country because now he's American, and then of course the parents have to stay so they can raise the child. No, I don't support that. I don't support that at all. It the whole birthright citizenship was originally for the descendants of slaves, the American descendants of slaves, and then it was extended to Asian Americans um, when you had some that were born here, um, but weren't. But back then, they still weren't considered citizens because there was the whole Chinese, what was it called, the Chinese Exclusion Act or whatever, which denied them citizenship. So then the birthright citizenship was extended to them too. Like you can't just have a class of people born into the country and say they're not citizens when their whole livelihood is here in America. Um, some of them have started businesses and went into our military, and also it's like got to give them citizenship. So as it stands, that was for the descendants of slaves, and then to make Chinese and other East Asian citizens that were denied it through the Chinese Exclusion Act or whatever it was called back in the 1800s. Beyond that, no, I don't support it for people who just come here and have a kid. No, they can go because in no other country does that rock. Most other countries, you cannot get away with that. You don't. You're not simply. People always think America is mean, but most of these countries these people be coming from have way more severe citizenship laws than we do. Mexico will kick out other Latinos in a heartbeat if you're not Mexican. They don't want Guatemalans there. They don't want El Salvadorans there. Like man, Nicaraguans, Hondurans, what man? They do not like Central Americans. In Mexico, they will kick them out in a second. They don't care about some birthright citizenship stuff. Alex is going to go now, have an early meeting tomorrow. Yeah, I need to go too. Past 12, and I gotta be somewhere early. Cause to make sure you stay fit in case you have to get physical with a snap person. Oh yeah, that too. You definitely be staying physically fit in case some person wants to bogart while you're in the store stuff. You gotta be strong enough to uppercut them. Guys, have a good night.